Hi, friends. Hi, Cody.
Hi, Peter.
Hi, Armin.
Hello, nice guy to see you guys. Hello, Cody. Thank you for being in our show. Hello, Peter.
Thank you for being in our show, Cody. And I have to say, I'm very honored that we have you here because you are one of my oldest internet friends, and we were chatting in old days forums and boards and so on. And most people won't know, but Cody is a very nice trick shot. He's able to hit dimes out of the air like old Howard Hill did.
Oh, okay.
He's a kind of expert in Howard Hill bows and Howard Hill shooting style, and he's always in archery. You see Bitzenberger, the best fletching chicks around, and his friend with John D. Lee, who is an amazing Howard Hill style bowmaker and Howard Hill history expert, I'd say. And Cody, you're in Lansing, if I'm right, no, in Lansing, Michigan.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Great.
So I just have to say, I'm very proud we have you here on. And I don't know what I could say. I said, tell us something about you, Cody, about what's your ideas and what are your going on in archery, or what is your background in archery?
Where you come from, where you are, and where you're going.
Yeah.
Well, it's really unsure of exactly when I picked up a bow, because I was told by my grandmother that I got a bow for Christmas when I was about 2 years old. And I remember, and there's actually a home video of my grandpa helping me shoot with this bow. And I remember ever since, I always had a bow in my hand. And there are many times that, I'll pick a bow over having a rifle. So I guess you could say I've been shooting a bow since I was about 2 years old.
Oh, okay.
But you love rifles too, Cody, as I know.
But not with .23.
I love the vintage rifles.
Yes.
Like the higher quality German-made rifles, or So, but I choose to shoot my bow over anything though, because it's just what I fall back on. So it was something, I guess, that I always fell in love with. So more of a challenge, I guess you would say. And I think with archery, you got these guys that, want to shoot 300, 400, 500 yards with a rifle to try to shoot a deer. In my mind, give that animal all reason to escape. Give it the best reason to escape. And get as close to that animal as you possibly can. And I just feel that there's really no challenge hunting with a rifle. So, but I hunt everything with a bow now. Pheasants, turkeys,
nice.
Anything. I rather hunt with a bow than I would with a shotgun or a rifle.
And you shoot then longbow or compound bow? Which bows do you use for hunting?
Longbows.
Longbows. Okay, you're a longbow hunter. Ooh, cool.
Yeah. So,
Howard Hill longbow, Howard Hill style. Still.
Yeah.
So, the best longbow. Peter always tells me Howard Hill style bows are the best longbows you can possibly think of. So I need to have one now, I guess. I never shot one.
Well, they can be a little bit tricky to shoot at first, but once you shoot them, they're their own, I guess you would say, their own animal.
Okay.
What
poundage do you shoot?
I shoot, I have one Howard Hill longbow style, I should say, that's 50. And I have another one that's 95 pounds.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, but I've shot English longbows up to around 125 pounds.
Nice. Okay.
Wow.
But the English longbow, that's once again a different animal. So I've always just stuck with the Howard Hill stuff.
Makes sense.
So,
Cody, sorry to interrupt you. just for our viewers, can you say the name of your YouTube channel where you can see Cody performing with coins and all kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Cool videos.
Okay, so it's Longbowman 89.
Okay.
Yep.
Maybe you can send me the link and then I put it in the description of this video. Then people can check you. It's cool.
All right. Yeah, one thing on my YouTube channel is I'm going to start re-uploading some of my old videos. I have a program on my computer that I can actually take some of my older videos.
Very good.
And make the quality better. So I've taken some of the videos down, but I'm going to do some quality work on my videos and make them a little bit better. I have some other newer ideals planned that I want to do for some newer trick shooting videos.
Oh, cool.
So,
and Cody, maybe I can ask you, because you know there are a lot of confusions around what a Howard Hill style bow really is. And as I know, you have studied this with John D. Lee and so on. So maybe you're the best person, except we would get John D. Lee one time on our podcast to tell our viewers what is the real difference of a kind of modern style longbow and a real Howard Hill style longbow. And I also know there is a lot of battling around, because Mr. Jerry Hill says the longbows Howard Hill archery does are not like Howard Hill's longbows in style, only he's making the right shape and so on and construction. So what in your opinion, Cody, or based on your experience?
In my opinion, I mean, I would say it's kind of hard to justify, Peter, because if you go back to Bob Swinehart, which Bob Swinehart was one of Howard's, best friends. And when you look at his bows that he was shooting, which was made by, the guys at Howard Hill Archery during the time, Howard didn't build those bows. Somebody else built them. So Howard's bows were completely different, the way Howard built bows, than the bows that Bob Swinehart was shooting. And it's just, there's so much confusion. Honestly, the only person that would probably know would be Howard Hill, and Howard's been dead since 1975. So,
I think John Lee is quite close, because I watched his videos, how he explained that they grinded them round, the bamboo laminations and so on. But
the concave convex.
But I don't like to judge about what is because I know I have a book, that limited one where all the old Howard Hill and also the factory made ones are inside, and they're flat bows and what we call Howard Hill style bows. I have an old Cherry Hill bow, which is totally a flat bow, but it's a wonderful bow. But so I would like to tell our viewers, not these high sophisticated differences, but what separates a Howard Hill style bow to another modern glassed longbow. From Border, from you name it, Great Northern or Martin Archery, or they all have longbows in their program, in their offer. And most people think if it's a kind of straight grip, then it's a Howard Hill style bow. So if you can explain that to the viewers.
Well,
nice.
Once again, I mean, here's a longbow that I have made by, him, Peter, Jim Belcher.
Yeah, I know him.
So, I mean, this is his take on Howard Hill, a Hill style longbow. Real narrow grip, really high, and but it's it's just like in one of the books that I have, you see Howard actually shooting a reverse handled bow.
Yeah.
And people say, "Oh, Howard never shot a reverse handled bow." Yes, he did.
There's some pictures. Yep.
just like people say that he never shot a recurve. Well, he shot a recurve.
Yeah.
So it's just hard to say.
In the fishing video, he's shooting a Ben Pearson fiberglass bow.
Yeah.
With reflex, a kind of reflex deflex a little.
But they're great bows. They're nice and vintage.
Yeah,
I would like to have one.
Wonderful.
Cool. I shot one here in Malta, small island. Somebody came with a Ben Pearson fiberglass bow. And I shot and said, "Do you need to sell it to me?" I said, "No."
Looks like horn.
Really cool.
I had one. I gave it to a friend.
But we drift away. So I think that the most crucial thing is because many offer, especially in Europe, offer a Howard Hill style bow, and it has this handle. But then the cross section of the limb is more like a flat bow, like a square. And as you told me, Peter, that the Howard Hill style bow has more this like when you cut through it, it looks more like a D.
To me, it's more like an English longbow with the belly shaved off.
Yeah.
And I think Cody, correct me if I'm wrong. I think they made the first like that. They made a kind of English longbow, shaved the belly, and then they glued the glass or some backing material on. It's true, no?
Because a fellow that I ran into years ago when I first started, he was saying that he picked up a Howard Hill longbow that was an original one that he got from wherever, and he was from I think he was from California. This fella, I ran into him at an archery shoot, and he was saying that he had a longbow that was supposedly one that Howard built, and it was basically an English longbow that Howard redesigned the handle and then shaved the belly off, and then basically rounded it, and then put what they called fish paper on the back of it.
Fortison or something.
Yeah, vulcanized fiber.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just, I feel like you can get too political with all the different, this is a Howard Hill bow, this is a Howard Hill bow. And it's just, to me, guys are making it too complicated where it's just like, excuse my language, pick up the damn bow and go shoot it,
Yes.
Yeah,
that's true. Now, the thing is, I don't like longbows because every longbow I shot so far was not a pleasant experience for me, because when they are wrong built, then they have a handshock. And I had a bow, it was made, there's in Germany, in Bavaria, a guy, he's really a good bow builder, and he got then bows from Hungary, longbows from Hungary, and we made them then for us. And the handle was kind of like a Howard Hill bow and the overall shape. But this bow, when you shot it, you lost all your teeth with one shot. It's like, was my experience. Yeah.
Too much mass in the limbs.
Yeah.
Too much weight in the limbs, and maybe overlays heavy and so on.
Yeah,
and a too light arrow, and that component gives you a handshock. That components. It's true. Cody, is true.
Yeah, I mean, because I've always found with longbows, they seem to like really heavy wood arrows. The heavier the wood arrow, they seem to shoot better. Heavy wood arrows, and bigger feathers.
And one more thing, if you think you can switch from a recurve bow, you're shooting with a straight arm, and simply use the same shooting style with a hill style longbow, you will have handshock and so on, because your bow arm is slightly bent and so on. There are some features. So I never felt any handshock with a Howard Hill longbow.
No, and you know that's funny you say that, Pierre, because another fellow that I know, he just a second. Another fellow I know picked up one of Jerry's bows years ago and shot it, and he said he couldn't believe how balky the thing was and how bad of a hand shock it had. But he said after he got some heavier arrows, the hand shock went right away. And he said it was the most pleasant bow that he ever shot. And he said it shot a lot better than a Howard Hill archery bow made at that time.
But I also know why Jerry Hill's bows of these days had handshock. because of that, what I said, he used, how was it called? That action wood for the limbs. That jute maple. And that's relatively a heavy construction. So the limbs were kind of heavy. And also they had a lot of backset. And I think these two components were not, this caused a little hand shock. But as Cody said, if you put on a really heavy arrow and maybe a fast flight string, you have absolutely no hand shock.
Okay.
Well, you want to know what that action wood was actually used for, Peter?
No.
That action wood was actually used for making gun stocks.
Yeah, yeah. So they won't break. Yeah.
Yep. And I think Jerry posted this one time on Facebook or whatever, but he was talking about how he had he came up with his own way of tapering it, and he came up with a way of having the company taper it, which gave it better performance. But I don't know. I always wondered. I understood the point of using the action maple, but I would really like to find one of Jerry's bows that has all bamboo in it.
I have one.
How do you like it?
I love it. Just a moment, I show it. Just a moment.
And which arrows do you usually shoot? Wood arrows when you go hunting?
Yeah, either wood arrows or do you know what microflights are? Microflights. Microflights are old. They came out in the 60s.
Okay.
They're fiberglass.
Okay.
And they're fairly heavy. But they're pretty. Peter might have some of those too.
Microflights.
I love it. Look.
Yeah, now we talk about the bow again.
Look, that back set. Yeah. Very heavy back set.
Yeah.
And it's kind of really nice bamboo handle. You see, it's from the 1980s, I think, and it's had a dark brown backing and a white facing, but it's kind of yellowish white because it's so old, you see.
Yeah, because you smoke too much, yes.
No, I just got it that way. But I let it. I don't clean it, and I let a new finish put on, and also one kind of dump guy cut in here a pistol grip.
Oh, okay.
And I got it like that. I have pictures of that. And then a friend of mine glued this on with wooden dowels, you know, and we made it a real nice longbow.
Very cool.
I love it.
I remember, Peter, I remember seeing that picture of the guy that, I don't know why you would put such a heavy dish in that handle.
Crazy, yeah. And now it's completely straight and you see narrow like a real Howard Hill grip. Very nice bow. But that's 100% a flat bow, you see? And you know what? There are different kind of taperings. In most bows, this bow has 3 laminations all throughout. And for usually they stay with the 3, but at some of these older bows, 1 lamination runs out here. So they tapered through the lamination and so on. It's very sophisticated.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that would be known as the leaf spring construction.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, so, and here this last lamination of bamboo ends here.
Yeah.
And they are out. It's not the 3rd lamination anymore. And it was called, this is the original writing on, it was called White Eagle 2. Like Howard Hill's money bow, which he used in the performance on the stage shows, was White Eagle. His bow was named White Eagle, and so Jerry named this one White Eagle 2. And they had the kind of problems with in that time because Jerry Hill labeled them with Howard Hill's original signature, you see? And there were kind of law thing going on with Howard Hill archery because they had the rights and so on. It was kind of unclear situation. Maybe Cody knows more, I don't know.
That would have probably been when Jerry was under the name of, I believe I have a catalog. It was under Howard Hill Productions, I do believe. But I don't know of any. I don't know any of the legal stuff that went on between Jerry and Howard Hill Archery. But I do have a catalog. If I can find it, Peter, I'll send you a copy of it.
That would be great. Yes, and also Ben Pearson Company made sometime Howard Hill's longbow with Howard's signature on and so on. So there are a lot of makers and so on.
Yeah, and that is actually one bow that I've never seen is a Howard Hill bow built by Ben Pearson. And I know that they advertised them, and it must have been I believe it was in the mid 40s. And that was, I think at that time, it was a $75 bow. But anybody I've talked to, I've never seen one. But if you look at some of the other catalogs from Ben Pearson, there are other bows that Ben Pearson built in the mid 40s that were all out of bamboo, but that weren't labeled Howard Hill.
Yeah.
So it's amazing.
For some time, they also produced Howard Hill arrows and Howard Hill broadheads, Ben Pearson Company.
And
they made movies together, and Howard Hill promoted the fiberglass bows of Ben Pearson and so on. So they had a kind of
cooperation.
How can you say, yes, synergy, or I don't know.
Yeah. Well, John, I think it was John Lee was telling me one time that there was a fellow that was a tool maker that made some type of tools. They wanted to use Howard Hill's name on their ratchets, on their winches, or they just wanted to use his name, which I guess he talked to, like Jerry, he claims that there's been a couple other people back in the day that wanted to use Howard's name for different branding purposes. But,
of course.
But Jerry Hill now came up with his new old broadhead. I really like them. They always were a lot better quality than that original Howard Hill broadheads. They were really nice broadheads, the Jerry Hill type.
Yeah, I'm anxious to get a set of them.
I want some too.
So they look like they're pretty high quality.
I have one of the old ones back then. You know, I don't know if Armin remembers, even here around in Germany and Austria, you could buy Jerry Hill cedar arrows. They had a kind of little golden label burned in with gold and so on. They were high quality arrows. I think they were made in Orlando, Florida at the Sims factory. There were some arrows. You could also get them. High quality cedar arrows to a very reasonable price. You know that Sims arrows, Cody?
From where, Peter?
They were called Sims. And the factory was in Orlando, Florida. And I think they also made Jerry Hill's arrows back then.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with those. I'm not familiar with the Sims arrows. I don't think I've ever ran across any of them.
Maybe it was something only for export, not for the
no.
American.
I have some. I will check. I will look for them next time and show them. Very nice. And you know, well-made cedar arrows with good knocks and so on, and really spined and weighted. You could, out of the box, these arrows were exactly matched sets of arrows.
Nice.
You got them 5/16 for, you know, weak bows up to 23/64s. Very tough arrows. Nice. But they finished, I think.
So we were just talking about arrows when you went away and got your bow. So you said you use wood arrows and then you use these old microflights.
Yeah,
these are nice arrows. I just have one, but these are nice arrows.
So fiberglass, heavy fiberglass.
Yeah, and tapered. They were tapered.
Oh, okay.
And very heavy and thin.
Yeah, and either
Fishing rod, maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Either they were straight or they're broke. That's
yeah. You could shoot them in a concrete wall.
Yeah. And I believe Bob Markworth did that on a TV show back in the 60s. You guys know who Bob Markworth is?
I know him. He was a nice a trick shooter with a recurve bow. He also made some tape about shark hunting, I think, with the bow. Very nice. Lovely guy.
Yeah.
There was a kind of documentary. You see him traveling with his female assistant and with a trailer, with a, a kind of holiday trailer, and they drove from town to town in schools. They gave shows in nightclubs and so. Really nice.
Yeah, it still surprises me how he shoots a balloon out of the assistant's mouth, blindfolded.
Wow.
Yeah. Have you seen that, Peter?
Yes, but I tell you the trick. The blindfold isn't real. I know this from the stage magicians.
Yeah.
There's a special blindfold, so that's the trick. But he also had in a nightclub, if I remember well, in Paris, he had a kind of show. At every shot, he shot close to his female assistant, and the clothing fall down. You know, the skirt fall down, and so on. A kind of striptease, and it was the trick. In my opinion, was he shot there, and she with some kind of device released the buttons, or I don't know, the hooks or something.
Because he shoots with doesn't he do he does tricks with a crossbow and a compound as well as the recurve.
Yeah. You have to check him out. I mean, if you don't know him, is he still alive?
As far as I know, he is. I believe he was supposed to get inducted into the Archery Hall of Fame either this last year or this coming year.
Nice.
So, but I've talked to him. Oh, it's been probably 2 or 3 years ago. But I haven't heard from him since. So I know he was on the last one of the talent shows that they had on TV a couple of years ago, doing his archery trick shooting. So, but
interesting guy.
Yeah.
But it's amazing though how many people did archery exhibitions back in the day. You know, like Andy Vail, Walton Wilhelm.
Ben Pearson,
Fred
Bear,
also
did. All they did, the greats did kind of stage appearances and shot their some tricks and so on. And it's kind of a dead scene. The only one really left is Byron Ferguson. So there's
well, there's also that
and Cody, of course.
There's also that fella. I'm not sure where he's from, what state he's from, but he does all the trick shooting with that white recurve.
Bill Eddington. Not Bill. From Texas, a guy. His name is Eddington. Frank Eddington.
Okay, yeah, Frank. Yeah, and then there's also a fella named James Dean or James.
Wow.
Yeah, this I know. Yeah.
You can't top this. I watch his videos. You can't do better, in my opinion. Nobody. He's an amazing guy.
It's amazing at some of the stuff that he can do. But like shooting arrows that are falling out of the sky and
And he does it with ease, he's just turning around and shooting at this stuff. So a really nice guy.
So does he shows too, or is he only doing videos?
I guess he does videos, in my opinion.
I think nowadays you can't even do proper archery. How is it nowadays with safety regulations? That you stand on a stage with a weapon. I think everybody goes crazy there.
Yeah. I did it. You know it, Armin, at the Landshut Bow Fair show, and they said I can't do it anymore because nobody is allowed to stand near the target.
Yeah.
Stupid.
So see, in Byron Ferguson, I'm happy to call Byron a friend of mine. And
yep.
When I was just starting out doing trick shooting, Byron used to come to Michigan to put on his expo shooting demonstration. So I remember the first year I heard about Byron being here, I came and tried to spend as much time as I could, and I watched 2 or 3 of his shows that weekend and spending time talking to him.
Yeah.
And he was basically telling me, just become the arrow. Like, of course, how Howard Hill said, just become the arrow and don't overdo it. And I still shoot. Even during the lockdowns we had and all this. I still shot 2 or 3 hours a day just practicing. But I do feel that you can overdo it.
Yeah.
Yep.
You shoot and shoot and shoot, and then when you start getting your bad habits, like getting tired, I would push myself to keep shooting. Of course, that would make a lot of bad habits.
Yeah.
And I'm by no means a fantastic target shot. But I'm surprised at what some of the tricks I can do. I don't know if it's because I listened to Byron's, spiel about, when the target's up in the air, it becomes as big as a baseball or a balloon or whatever. And I had that experience the first time I shot coins out of the air. My buddy threw the coin up, and when I pulled back, it's like, man, I can't miss that. And I let go, and I was surprised that I hit it. But probably for every time I've hit a coin or hit an aerial target, I probably missed 2 or 3 times more than.
That's okay.
Sorry to interrupt you, Cody, but I have to say this. And there you are, Armin, with your spirituality. That's you are in a kind of trance. You're in a flow. And that's what some call spiritual or meditation or something. But it's just when you're really into that stuff you're doing.
Fully aware, fully conscious, of course, in the moment.
And at the same moment relaxed. That's the thing. Sometimes to my clients, I explain it like driving a car. You're relaxed, but you're aware of everything. Of your meters and
when you press the clutch or put the gear in or whatever, you don't think about it because it happens. Because you have it in your muscle memory.
It's what they would call instinctively or intuitively, but it's like that kind of state. Would you agree, Cody?
What's it? Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Did it happen to you once, Cody? Because when we had Byron in the show, he said that even Howard Hill always said that you focus on the target, and when you look at it long enough, then in one moment it's like you zoom in and it grows bigger and bigger. Did it happen to you once, or is the coin still the coin?
It's happened to me. I'd be honest, it's happened to me a couple of times.
Okay.
One time I was practicing, and one time it happened when I was putting on a show for a school. One of the kids asked me, he's like, what else can you do? Can you do anything fancier? So I pulled out a coin. Of course, I was going to shoot the coin anyway, try to shoot it. So I pulled out this coin and I said, hey, how about if I try to shoot this dime out of the air? So I gave it to my buddy who was helping me. And when he threw the dime up, it was like, okay, I come up the full draw and I'm looking at it and it peaks and I just let go and I hit that dime dead on and I couldn't believe I hit it. But it was strange how that happened to me again when that coin just got as big as a basketball and it's like, I can't miss this. But then when I was practicing shooting 50-cent coins out of the air, there was after I got done shooting the small stuff, I started shooting clay pigeons that my buddy was tossing up for me. And I'm kind of like Byron. I use a backstop. And when he was throwing the clays up, I missed 2 or 3. The clayness, like I don't understand how. Yeah, like I don't know how I could hit the coins, but then
the clay pigeon is too big. Yeah, the big. The smaller you aim small, miss small.
You know the trick. You have to paint a dot on the clay pigeon. Because we talk about, look what I found here. It's a wooden disc Byron shot out of the air in 2014 in the show in the Netherlands. And I was the only guy picking it up and say, Byron,
sign it, please. Yeah. Nice. Okay. Yes, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I should have looked for those too. I have 2 or 3 of those as well, Peter.
Yeah. You know what the best trick was? I played Byron. We sat in the evening, and I had 10 how you call it, 10 $10 bills. Very new, like out from the print. And I had it like that. And I said, well, Byron, could you sign that 10 sheets, 10 bills for me with your name, Byron Ferguson, and 2010, or I don't know. Of course I could do this. I gave him the bills and he signed all of the 10 bills. And he said, I'm just curious, what are you going to do with these $10 bills? I said, well, I will sell one for $20. And he looked at me, stared at me. And at that moment, he was aware I could do this, but he couldn't. But I never did. I gave it to my friends as a kind of souvenir, kind of mascot,
Yeah, see, I'm not your friend, and then you have it. Yeah, it's okay.
I have one for you.
I didn't get one.
It was in 2011.
Yeah.
But I'll look, Armin. I might have I have 2 or 3 of those discs that he's broken that is signed. I'll find one and I'll just send one to you. You can have it.
Yeah.
But really try it next time. When you shoot clay pigeons, draw a small dot in the middle or glue a 50-cent coin in it.
That's the trick.
Then you have your small target and then you hit it.
And Byron Ferguson showed me in his home, he had some of the original discs Howard Hill shot.
Yeah, I seen one of those at Three Rivers Archery. They have a display case. Yeah. And at one time they had, I don't know, maybe they went on loan from Byron, but there was one in the display case, and it was pretty cool that so
history, huh? Ooh.
Yeah.
It gives you goosebumps when you talk about it. Ooh. So, a little at least. Not everybody's as excited as me, but it's okay.
So,
nice.
Now I know, Armin, you say that you only shoot 3 arrows and then you go pull the arrows out of the target.
Yes.
Right?
When we practice there, when I had this archery range that we only shoot 3 arrows, that they stay because to keep when you're a trained archer, it's different. But we have always new people, and to keep them focused, we let them shoot 3 arrows, and then they go and get the arrows back. Yes.
That's what Byron says. Only shoot 3 arrows, and I copied this from him.
Yeah, because you focus. If it would be up to me, I would let them shoot only 1 arrow.
Yeah.
Because then you have all the focus, everything in this moment with this one arrow.
For one chance.
Yeah, but of course, you always, when you have an archery range, you always need to entertain and teach and find a balance.
Yeah, which after I heard whatever video I watched when you were talking about shooting 3 arrows and don't, I'm like, I ought to try that because maybe my focus would be much better. So now I only shoot 3 arrows. I go down and grab my arrows, and then it's just my focus seems to be a lot better than having a big back full of arrows that I'm just shooting. But I like the debate you guys had the one time about, is it a Robin Hood if I shoot 5 or 6 arrows and then Robin Hood another arrow?
Exactly. Yeah. This is what always happens. I shoot all at the target and they shoot 20 arrows on the target. Yeah. And of course, 1 arrow sticks and hey, I have a Robin Hood. Said, no, it doesn't count. When we do a deliberate Robin Hood, you have 3 arrows. You shoot the first one as your reference arrow, and then you have 2 arrows to split the first one. This is
no, you have one.
Yeah, but you know, we are a bit more. You have
okay,
a 50-50 chance, and this would be a Robin Hood. Everything else is a lucky shot or whatever accident. Yeah.
Are you watching our shows, Cody?
Yeah. Yep. When I get some time, I watch them every weekend.
Thank you.
Like it?
You like
it?
Yeah. So I actually find it more entertaining. I'll turn the computer on and watch it, and I'll sit here and I'll make arrows or have a nice drink and build some arrows. Or
with your Bitzenburger fletching jig.
Yeah.
Do you use glue, tape, or what do you use for your feathers?
I actually use both. I use if I'm making flu-flus, I'll use the fletch tape because I mean they're gonna get beat up.
Yeah.
And I find that if I need to change a feather out real quick, if it gets too beat up, you can just grab the tape and pull it off and refletch the arrow real quick. But I do like glue for most of my hunting arrows. The fletch tape's all right for what I call my junker arrows, for arrows that I just shoot, and if I break them, I break them.
I never used it. Never used it.
Yeah, we started using it here at the range because for the range arrows, you know, the feathers, as you said, feathers get beaten up, and we shoot carbon arrows, and removing glue from a carbon arrow is, you know, you take a knife and a blade, and then you stretch in the carbon, then you ruin the shaft. So with the tape, you simply put it off, stick a new one in, and it's ready to go. So it's always depends on what you need the arrow for. Yes.
Yeah, and I messed around with just about every type of glue you can think of. I used to go to one of our local big box stores, and they had Duco cement.
Yeah.
And back in the day, that was a prime fletching glue.
Okay.
And I fletched some arrows with it, and it was, it was all right. And then Jerry Hill was telling me that, no, it was John Lee, was telling me that Howard used something called Seal-All. It was like a rubber cement. And so I started using that. Well, our local store quit selling it, so I could probably find it on the internet, but I guess I quit.
How was the name of this one?
Seal-All. Seal-All, like
Seal-All.
Yeah. So
like sealing, like seal.
Like to seal, yeah.
Seal-All.
Seal-All.
Yeah, actually, right on the back of the package, it actually said 4 fletching arrows.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Nice.
But living in Michigan, we have, of course, up north of us, we have the Boning Archery, which they make the Boning fletching glue.
Yeah.
And so I can buy that, pretty like anybody else, but I like the Boning fletching.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Now, are you guys pretty particular on what arrow nocks you use on your arrows?
Yes.
Or you are? Yeah.
Yeah. For the range arrows, we use the normal standard. I usually always had from Bear Paw from Germany these normal standard nocks, and I use for my shooting. I do this thumb release shooting, and they are called U-nocks from Vermeil Archery, and they have this. They spread a little open, but not as wide as they have normally on horseback. They are still quite small. You can grab them easy. So especially for my way of shooting, I like them. But I shoot different kinds of nocks, and I'm not so very specific. But my own arrows have mostly these U-nocks on it.
Yeah. Now, Peter, are you still using the Stotler mid-nocks at all?
I had some sets of arrows made with the Stotler mid-nocks, but if I'm honest, I don't like them too much.
What's different from them, or how do they look?
Just a moment. I pick up some arrows.
You have one? You have one to show, Cody?
Yes, just a moment. You have some?
Actually, I have not a Stotler. I have one of the original mid-nocks from Easton.
Okay.
So this is actually. Can you guys see this arrow at all?
Yeah.
This is actually an arrow that my grandfather got in 1948.
Wow.
From Howard Hill when he did a local exhibition. That is a mid-knock.
A mid-knock. Interesting. Never saw this one.
They're rounded. But yeah, that's a arrow that my grandpa picked.
Nice.
And you know, I mean, they are exactly an extension of the shaft.
Yes.
You won't have anything.
Yeah.
And
so you have no indexing on it or something, so you don't know what
you have. You have a very small index on that, on this. No.
No, nope. There's no index on
completely flat. I like them.
And I find them easier. You can roll them around in your fingers as well, so you can. So when you're drawing it out of a back quiver,
you can exactly with the rounded edge. Seems pretty.
But in my opinion, the best knocks for using a back quiver and shooting fast are the Mercury speed knocks.
Yes.
That's if I have to choose between all the available knocks, I only use Mercury speed knocks.
Yep. Well,
you have one to show? Have you a Mercury here?
I don't. I do not.
I have. Just a moment.
So, because Armin, it's pretty surprising that you're about as picky as I am when it comes to arrow knocks. I've always been extremely picky about arrow knocks. I don't know why.
It's for me, this is the connection from the arrow and me and the string, and this needs to work for me, for my way how I shoot. And there are some, they look fancy, but they don't work as good. Others are too big, others are too small, or I don't feel them. Everything needs to work together. That's why we shoot 40 different styles, and you figure which one you like more and which one you don't like that much.
Yeah, and I've tested just about all the knocks I could get my hands on here in the States, and I just go back to the knocks that I like, and when I find a certain brand that I like the one classics knocks made by Bowman that they made back in the day. I'll buy a whole bunch of them so I have them, so in case I can't ever find them.
Okay, cool.
But these are the Mercury speed knocks. You see the big index.
Yeah, then they're flat on both sides. Yeah, of course.
Yes, and a very deep groove and like a kind of, how you call it, a funnel here in the back, so you easily can knock them very fast. And yes, flat on the sides and the big index.
So you know directly how to, yes.
Here is a Stotler mid-knock, a yellow one, you see, and they have a little kind of index. And what's interesting for Armin is they come with a very narrow slot, so you have to file them to fit them to your string.
Okay, to your string. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. Because when they are too big and you have a fast flight, many balls a fast flight, then it's a thing.
Maybe Cody knows the brand. I don't remember the brand, but I think I have a kind of 600 of those. These are like the Mercury speed knocks, you see, with the wide opening here, back with the wide slot here. And they have an index, and they're very nice stout knocks, also flat at the sides, but these are not Mercury speed knocks. I don't remember the name.
Are they Nerk knocks?
No.
Not Nerk.
No.
Phoenix? No.
No. I don't remember. I think I have to look it out. But nice knocks. I have them in that orange and in red. Nice knocks. You can really handle an arrow perfectly with.
Cool. Look at this.
And what I see today a lot, because we talk about arrows, we're talking about arrows. A lot of people are gluing the feathers too much away from the knock, in my opinion.
Yes.
So you should have in mind the farther back the feathers are.
The better stabilization. But on the other side, when you shoot thumb release, you have the thumb way further. So that's why I always glue the feathers half an inch forward, that I don't have the finger in the fletching. So that you have a clean grip on the arrow. But it's a different shooting style. Our arrows are usually 32, 33, 34 inches.
These are labels I put on myself, and this cresting is original, and these are pre-stained and pre-finished Three Rivers cedar arrows, cedar shafts. Very good stuff. Totally matched. Wonderful arrow.
Cody, one question: the knock you just showed, is this only for wood arrows, or do they have a version for carbon arrows too with the insert?
Oh, you mean the mid knocks here?
These mid knocks, yeah.
They don't make these anymore. These were made up until like I believe the 1960s, and then they quit making them. And then a fella named Stotler ran around with Howard Hill.
Okay.
And then Stotler started building
the Stotler mid-knocks, okay.
Started building bows, and then he reintroduced his take on the Stotler mid-knock.
Okay.
And then I was told that Boning Archery up north of me, they had the original dies for this knock, for the original Easton knock.
Okay.
And they made some, but they couldn't get it to work right. So nobody knows whatever happened to the dies.
Yeah, then you need to make that, huh?
I think, Cody, I think you sent me some of these mid-knocks, no?
Yeah.
You sent some to me. Wow. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
I still have some.
But the Stotler mid-knock was made from a totally different
plastic. Yeah.
Plastic. And they just, I'm not going to say they're junk, but I've heard of a lot of guys say they had a lot of dry fires with their bows. The grooves were too shallow.
Because the groove is so narrow, you easily, and look how it is shaped. You easily can squeeze it off from the string, kinda, you know.
Yeah, but it can be for a different shooting technique. Could be very interesting. So I'm really interested in. I need to get a few of them. Yeah, that's why. But they only made them. Even Boning make them now, or nobody makes them now.
No, you can still find some of the Stotler knocks on, I believe, Amazon. I can send you a link, Armin.
Okay, thank you.
But yeah.
I saw one maker. I think there's one maker around who still makes them. In my opinion, I don't remember the name.
And you know, it's funny how many of these different archery companies would, I guess, just like anything, copy another manufacturer for the same thing that they're making.
Like the Chinese.
Yeah.
Look what I don't know if you can see it. Look, there's a label on. I don't know. With my portrait. You can't see it.
No, we can't see it. No, because the diameter of the shaft is too small for your white face.
You see? Huh.
Yeah, it's okay. It looks good. We are so proud of you, Peter.
Oh, thank you. Then I'm okay. Cody, have you prepared for our Knife of the Week show?
Yeah, actually, I had 2 of them.
Oh, okay.
One for the right hand, one for the left hand.
Yeah. Well, here in the state of Michigan, it's against the law to conceal carry like a hunting knife.
Okay.
So 2 knives that I have this one right here. This is an old timer. This knife was one. This knife here was given to me by my grandfather. That was one of his.
Wow.
During when I was old enough to start hunting, this was one of his knives that he gave me.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
So I still use this, but I can carry a pocket knife. So I just carry this little 1940s pocket knife that he had when he was a kid.
Oh, wow.
So I love Cody because he's totally into that old stuff.
Yes. With his rifles, with his
old guns. Yeah. He also has old timer cars. I know some old pickup trucks. No.
Yeah. So it's actually, Peter, it's actually the same year and model that Howard Hill used when he went to Africa.
Wow. Yes, you got one of those. I know.
Yeah. So, but now, Peter? What do you think? What do you think of Nate's bow, Sunset Hills? What do you think of Nate Steen's bows?
As far as I can say, I got. He made me one back in 2006. it was a very short kind of hunting hill style bow.
Yeah.
And it has not very, but it had massive limbs. As was what I want to tell you is, in my opinion, he makes them now more fragile, more nice. The ones that I knew were kind of big bows, you know, a big handle and big limbs, and so very well made. And what is special about his bows is he puts into the center of the limb one fiberglass sheet.
Oh, he does.
That's kind of special with his bows. And I like them. I like them, and I also like that he came up with that string follow design. He was one of the first, not one of the first, but one of the first I got to know who promoted a glassed, slightly string follow bow for the best shooting bow around, and that's kind of true. You know, if the bow has a very slight string follow, in my opinion, it combines the smoothness of a self bow, of a wooden bow, to the speed and power of a glassed bow. It's a kind of hype, in my opinion, from the shooting, how it is to shoot.
And more forgiving,
I was hunting with Nate Steen. He's a really nice guy. He's from Idaho, from Twin Forest, and I can't say any bad thing about him, except you have very long waiting times. Very difficult to get the bow. At least the last years it was like that. Or correct me if it's not true, Cody.
Yeah, I'm on his I guess his back list. I'm his back burner list and I'm not sure how long I've been on it, but I'd like to have one just to shoot, just to.
No, these are nice and well made bows, and Nate is also a kind of Howard Hill expert who reads every stuff about Howard's bows, and who he was friends with John Schultz and the sons of John Schultz, which made the quiver and the leather stuff and so on. So he knows a lot about that Howard Hill bow making.
Yeah, and John Schultz was also another interesting fellow with his trick shooting and so and. I've not had a chance to shoot any of John Schultz bows either. And
I have to.
my brother has one too, and then even the sons of John Schultz asked him if he wants to sell it, and he said no. But he didn't even let me shoot with it, so I don't care.
Is John D still alive?
Yeah, John. I actually just texted him. I think it was a couple days ago. Yeah, he's building another Howard Hill, and he's building another bow.
Wow!
So he sent me pictures of a bow that he's building.
Nice.
Do you think we could have him on the show?
You can try to contact him. He would be a wealth of knowledge. So
yeah,
because he spent a lot of time with Howard, and he built the last 3 or 4 bows that Howard shot before he passed away. So. So
cool.
I was gonna get my Howard or my John Lee bow out, but I have it stored in my safe, and it's kind of a mess in there. So
I always wondered about, and we talked before about it, Cody, about that some bows Howard Hill had with this glassed riser, with the black riser.
Oh. Okay, so yeah, I have one. I had one because I've had a couple of John's bows where I had one, and then I gave it back, and he gave me a heavier one. But it was vulcanized fiber as well on the sides, which would, because the bows were so thin, Howard's bows were so thin, thin here in he would put the vulcanized fiber on the side of it, so the bow wouldn't torque back and forth. But I've only seen a couple of like that of Howard's. But,
very interesting, and I think I never saw it with any other archer or bow maker before that the side glass rebar in the riser section.
It was just to build strength up in the riser is all.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, but
you know, I don't know if Armin knows it, that early Howard Hill bows, and also Bob Swinehart writes about it, they were made completely finished and tillered bamboo lamination bows.
And then they put the glass
and
on.
then they put the glass on.
I know that.
Not like today, they just glue it together and grind it. They made a working bow before they put the glass on.
Yeah. They build the self bow up first, and then I do believe it was the same way with the bows that Howard took to Africa. They were all, I guess you would say, laminated self bows. And then he took them. I believe it was to Floyd whatever the guy's name was in California, that invented the glass.
Frank Eichholz.
Yeah. Yep. And Eichholz put the glass on the back for him. But there's, just like anybody though, back in the day, Howard would, test everything and anything to make it,
In no way Howard was a traditional archer. He always had the best and most modern work stuff and materials to try it. And what I also believe, I don't know if I'm wrong, Cody, I think Howard wasn't the first who was making laminated bamboo bows and dried bamboo and baked bamboo and so on. I think they got all this knowledge from the fly rod builders, from the fly rod makers, because they used the split bamboo and dried and baked bamboo to get very nice fly rods for fly fishing.
Yeah.
I think they got the technology from there.
Yeah, but what about also though? What about the over in Japan where most of those bows were are all bamboo.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say. It's really,
but it's hard to break a 2 meter bow.
Yeah. So, and it's these guys want to go back and forth. So, well, it seems like it's more drama than what it really needs to be with these guys. They want to argue about, well, Howard did this. No, he didn't. He did that. It's like,
we don't know. He's not here anymore. So
and it's the same. It's the same with the medieval reenactors. Oh no, they never had this sword. They had another sword, and they never had this, and so it's like that.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny you bring that up about the medieval. A couple. I'm trying to think. Probably around 5 years ago or so, they had for 2 or 3 years they had a medieval Renaissance fair, about 40 minutes away, and I never went to one. Well, I seen that they had an archery contest.
Wow!
So I ended up showing up to the first one. The first year they had the medieval fair.
With the Robin Hood costume?
No, I just wore a pair of jeans and a button-up shirt with my longbow and bat quiver. And these guys, so you had to shoot so many arrows and score. So you had kind of like they do for the Olympics. You shoot one round, and then they take the best archers to shoot the championship round. So I show up, and I think it was like $5 US to shoot to qualify, and the target was no further from me to probably the end of your house there, Peter. It was like maybe 5 or 10 meters. It was short. And these guys couldn't even, some of these guys that were all dressed up couldn't even hit a pop can 2 feet in front of them. And
but Cody, they know everything how it was back then.
Everything. They know everything better. Yeah.
So I ended up, I qualified. I didn't lose any arrows, and the guy running the shoot said, I'm surprised you didn't lose any arrows. Or because he said, well, we've had guys that were...
I'm sure they loved you there, Cody. I'm sure they were happy with you.
Not really. I was asked not to come back. So I won the championship, and they actually gave you a wooden arrow that had gold inscription on it. And so I won that. And then the next year I went back, even though I was told not to go back. I went back the next year and I was shooting and I qualified. And this guy shows up with an Olympic style recurve, shooting little Olympic style arrows. And he shot 2 or 3 times. And I started shooting the knocks off the back of his arrows. And his wife was there, and she was upset because he would shoot a couple arrows, and then I would wait for him to get done, and I would shoot my round. She was so upset. She tried to get me disqualified because I was destroying his arrows. And I said, well, I can't help it. He's shooting where I want to shoot. So I destroyed probably 3 or 4 of his $30 or $40 a piece arrows.
Ooh, yeah.
I think you are a bigger devil than Howard Hill was, because that sounds like a Howard Hill trick.
And of course, I was shooting 23/64 arrows, so they're quite big, the wood arrows. And I was shooting big old field points. And I mean, I was surprised that I damaged that many arrows, but I was just shooting them in there. And after that, they really told me not to come back. And in that year, I won another arrow, and I think they gave me a gift certificate for to have one of the guys there build arrows. And I went to go look at the arrows, and they weren't even worth even giving the gift certificate for. They were bad.
Oh, we interrupted the knife show. Armin, where's your knife?
Oh, yeah. Today something small. I'm not a neck knife guy, but this is one of my most favorite neck knives. Wow. It's a snake charm, and I like knives with a ring on the back. I don't know, I have this fable when a knife like the kunai, where they have a ring on the back where I can put my finger in, I'm happy. And this is a nice one. Has a nice shape, first of all.
Oh, yeah.
Nice handle. It's very thin, so it's really nice. And with this ring, and there you have some thing on it, so you can have it really. It's small, but you can have it good in your hand. You can and you can really work with this quite well. So it's nice. It's very thin, you can really.
Also, would be a nice quiver knife. You know what you put in your quiver, so you can throw it with the ring and so on.
But this one I don't throw. For my quiver.
Not for throwing, but having with you.
For this one, I have these ones. These are my most favorite throwing knives. They don't build them anymore, the Ossetters, and whatever you do with whatever technique you throw them, they are not very heavy, but they are just wow.
Looking good.
Yeah. So now you, Peter, show us one of your big monstrous rumble knives.
No, just the opposite. For today, for this week, I took out this really traditional Austrian and also German, I would say, hunting knife. These are called Knickers or Knickers, and they have a nice blade, you see, and a nice hand guard, a stack handle with a kind of new silver, and they have this kind of sheath because you carry them in your leather trousers, in your leather shorts, and there's a little pocket.
Knickerbockers, You
put that knife in, and and they are called Knickers or Knickers because they use them when they hunt roe deer. You know that, Cody? Roe, the small, like small deer in our countries in Europe, and if they had to finish off a roe, they bent the head forward and stabbed that knife into the neck, between the spinal cords, you know how you call it, and they separated it, and so the
instant death.
The roe was instantly death. Yes, and this is nice, and it's also a great knife, you know, for eating sausage and for everything. Yeah,
nice.
I really like that one.
Where did you get it from?
I got it from an old hunter, and he had some of them, and said, "Oh, you need one of these old knives," and yes, I need one. And it's nice, kind of. I don't know for this is. It's from Vagot Solingen, so it's German, German made.
Nice of course, the Germans. Solingen, they know how to make blades.
Yeah.
Now,
nice handle.
Peter, is this still tradition over there? When you shoot a roe deer, that you take and cut a branch and you put it in the mouth for like its last meal, or
you have two. In German language we call it Bruch, like break, and there are two Bruch. The one you put into the mouth of the deer, you put in the mouth of the deer. It's kind of the last meal, like you said, and the other one you put onto the entry wound and do a little blood on it, and this one you stick on your hunting head. So the other hunters see you bagged a deer or a roe, and so on. In most cases, it's fur twigs are used for doing this, but sometimes also oaks or what you have around. And you shake hands, say Weidmanns Heil, and you have to break these two Bruch, and you have to put it on the hunter's head, and you handle this with the hunter's head, and you have to pick it up from the head and put it on his head, and so on. So a kind of ritual. Yeah.
What would you say that roe deer tastes like? Is there anything that it's comparable to?
It's like your whitetail, but you know the how you call it, the fasan,
the strands,
the
fibers.
So the meat is more smaller, nicer fibers, you know, strands. It's more tender than a whitetail deer, but it's nice, and that's also tradition. I think it's the same in the United States. If you hunt a roe buck or a roe, a female one, a Geiss in German, you take out the liver, and they prepare the liver a la carte at the moment. So they're just roasting onions and slicing the liver and put it on, and put it into the onions and some garlic, salt, pepper, and then you put in some wheat. You just powder some wheat in and put in a little spoon of a little sip of white wine or red wine and a little water, and so yes. And the classic side dish is cooked potatoes, you know, in salt water cooked potatoes, and then you're sitting with your hunting companions and eating the fresh liver. It still has to be kind of red in the center, like a steak.
Yeah, because the thing here with whitetail is, depending on the part of Michigan that you get them from, that you shoot them from, some of the meat's really, really good. But if you get like an older deer that's from up in the UP, the meat is a little tougher.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to try roe deer, because I've heard about how it's really tender, and it's
You can, you know, if you have the back leg, you know, I don't know how it's called in English. You can make out of every piece of this meat, out of every kind of this meat, you can make it à la minute in a pan, just like a steak, and it's very tender. You can cut it with your fork and eat it. Tender like that.
Now, Armin, you don't hunt at all, do you?
No, I don't hunt. I was most of my life even vegetarian, so I'm completely on the opposite side of of the
you know what, Cody, you know what we are doing if we have an older buck, or like you say, we used to make sausage out of it. So so you can put in some spices and herbs, and you
compensate for it.
Yeah,
of course, because it goes through the wolf, through the machine, and then it's processed.
Now, what about, do you eat fish at all, Armin?
Again?
Do you eat fish?
Fishy. I eat sometimes meat, because I started eating meat here again in Malta, because as a vegetarian here in the small island, it gets boring, and I'm now almost 9 years here, and you can only eat always the same stuff. It got a little boring, and then one of my last girlfriends, the Italian, she always made some fish or made whatever. I started eating a little. Still don't eat a lot. Yesterday we had barbecue, and then I ate a little chicken. It's fine, but not a lot.
So a straightforward vegetarian.
90% vegetarian.
We used to say we are vegetarians of the second order, because we are just eating vegetarian animals.
or how the saying goes, how
no
do they call the
carnivores.
people they are too stupid to hunt? Vegetarians. Yeah.
It also, I was kind of interested by the other fellow you had on the other week that was shooting knockless arrows.
Yep, Jeff Ossipi,
yeah.
I honestly don't think I could actually do that.
I struggled the first time. I was cocky, and I did a review, and then one of my knocks came out of a carbon arrow, and I did a joke in front of the running camera. I said, and what happens when you have no knock? You shoot knockless, and bang, I missed completely, dry fired my bow. But now last week I took my time. I simply took some wood shafts without tip, without knock, anything, and I started practicing with a low poundage bow. Once you shoot a few times, it's like this Indian style. You pinch the arrow left and right of the string, and you draw with the middle and the ring finger. It's actually not that bad. But when you see the video, I made a short video how I started practicing. My first day practicing got directly 7 dislikes, because some archers are so narrow-minded. And why would you even shoot a knockless arrow? I simply tried because I'm a curious person, and Native Americans in Amazonian, they had knockless arrows. They shot with it for a reason. Either they were too lazy to cut the knock in, or it had a purpose. So I simply want to find out.
Yeah. And it also surprises me. This is not, down talking like Jeff or any of the other people, but it makes me wonder what the big surge in combat archery is all of a sudden over the last couple of years. It makes me wonder. I guess I could never get into the whole aspect of combat archery.
Me neither, Cody. Me neither.
Simply a different, let's say, application of archery. I mean, you can do with your bow and arrow. You can hunt. You can shoot a target. You can shoot 3D animals. You can shoot dimes out of the air, or you can do combat. Means you shoot a few arrows very quickly after each other. That's all. And when you see then in some. We had this discussion once in some writings, it can be propaganda, but it's always said in ancient writings that you are considered a fast shooter, especially from a horseback, that you can shoot a few arrows in a fast succession when you can shoot 10 arrows in 30 seconds. So it means 1 arrow in 3 seconds. So either out of your quiver or out of your hand or whatever. So that was kind of a standard in the ancient times. And this is where they all come from.
I don't believe it.
No, Peter, how many arrows was it? I remember there was, I don't know if it was in Craig Eakin's book or in another publication, but they said that Howard shot 12 arrows in so many seconds. Do you remember?
I don't remember, but I think it should be about 2 seconds, 1 arrow.
Yes, it's no problem. And for Jeff, he simply saw this guy shooting a pistol very fast, and he said, I want to simply replicate this with bow and arrow, and that's why he's practicing with knockless arrows and shooting very, very fast a few arrows. That's all.
Now, is he shooting any feathers on his arrows, or are they just
nothing? He shoots spear shafts.
So he doesn't have to worry about the feather orientation or anything.
Do it now.
But I wouldn't be afraid of Lars Andersen's arrows, and I wouldn't be afraid about Jeff's arrows. I never would. It's like throwing a shuriken or a throwing knife of that size. It's, I don't know. And you know what? If they would use combat war arrows at least 9 millimeters in diameter, they couldn't do it with the bow handle and some arrows here and so on, because they just can do it with carbon, with very slim carbon arrows. That's the other thing I like to mention, because they talk about history background. How many arrows can you hold in your hand?
I can hold 10 there, but the big ones, the big wood arrows, I can shoot 10 out of this hand.
Yeah.
And not comfortable anymore, but it's doable. If it's practical, it's not the question. It's technically.
What are you doing? What are you doing with these arrows if it isn't to shoot but to draw your sword? You know, that's all.
Yeah, of course. It's always, that's why I said it's simply one small part of application. You might maybe use it. Most probably we will never use it, but it's still a nice way to practice archery. And for me, it's always simply to throw some arrows away and then practice different things. And this fast shooting has something. It's nice when you are capable of shooting a few arrows in a fast succession. It's fun. It's nice.
It's also nice to shoot it out, shoot them out from a back
nice quiver. From a quiver too, of course. Yeah. Nobody said it's wrong. It's simply, I don't want to be so exclusive and say, okay, this is the only way how to shoot, or only the arrow on the left side, and only 3-finger Mediterranean is the only way to shoot. And that's why. Oh, shut up. my phone talks to me.
Wow.
That's why I'm, it's a smartphone. You know, it's not smart at all, but it's fine. Otherwise, it would make me a coffee or something. Yeah.
I think I just need to spend some time with somebody that does combat archery. Because around here there's nobody that does it.
Yeah, you all use archery for hunting, of course.
Yeah, so but it intrigues me, you know, watching Jeff shoot all those arrows. And,
I got this comment too then from one, you know, this is, I would never go hunting with knockless arrows. Said, yeah, maybe, of course. First of all, I think maybe the Native Americans did hunt with it, but they had a different shooting technique, I said. But then I said, yeah, but you know, not everybody is hunting with bow and arrow. And then his comment was, yeah, but you should. So for him, archery is only hunting. Yeah. I accept that. I have no problem with it. But of course, there are different things you can do with bow and arrow.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there are a lot of people that just shoot in the backyard that have no recollection to hunting. Then you have the people that shoot strictly indoors on paper. Or you have people that just do trick shooting.
And I think this combat stuff came up when they came with these, you know, with these foam-tipped arrows. This is how Lars Andersen got into it too. Then they had these big events where they shot each other with these foam-tipped arrows. And of course, when you can shoot, then take 3, and they have a distance they shoot on 5, 10, 20 meters, no 15 meters maybe. And when you can take out 3 of them in a quick succession, of course, you are, instead of getting a new arrow and load and shoot, and because there are 5 people running at you and you can take them out, it's a benefit.
I think it stems from Lord of the Rings, from Legolas.
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
I think so.
I think it comes from this combat archery, or that's what, or archery tag, or however they call it now.
Yeah, and it's funny too. How many couch archers there are, sort of thing. You know?
Like I am.
a lot. Oh, yeah. I mean, when you know it when you have a YouTube channel and you show something, all of a sudden all couch potatoes are on it, of course.
Yeah. And I believe that it might have got worse when people were on lockdown too. You know, they just got bored at home and they're you know just going looking for videos to make, and then you start looking at their videos or whatever, and it's like he's not an archer, he's not a hunter.
Yeah. In the beginning, when I started my YouTube channel, I was always starting discussions with them and whatever. And nowadays I simply say, okay, when you think so, or I tell them, listen, if you think so, do a video, post it, and let me see it. When you tell me I'm wrong, simply show me the proof, do it better than me, and show me, then we can talk. But only sitting on the couch and telling me I do something wrong and you maybe heard something, or you saw another one shooting, but you have no idea, that doesn't count for me.
Yeah, and it's just like, you know, people like with Jeff, you know, there's a couple guys that say, oh, well, he sped that video up or he did this. Yeah. Well, it's either they just want to be a bunch of idiots and be mean, or they're completely jealous that, yeah, they shoot bows, but they can't shoot like that.
That's the problem. Even was the discussion with Lars Andersen that he shot then whatever first Saracen shoots 3 arrows and, you know, at a distance of 80 meters, and the third one need to be shot before the first one is in the target. That means you need to shoot very fast. And then he shot even more arrows in the air. I think he shot 14 arrows in the air before the first one hit the ground. And there's a saying that one of these Native Americans shot 8 before the first one hit the ground. So he beat this record. But of course, people are not, or many are not capable of doing these things. And that's why they're jealous. I think so too.
Sorry to say this, but in my opinion, YouTube video making is a nice thing. Video clip making is a nice thing, but the separation from boys and clowns to the men is do it live on stage.
True. Yeah.
And that's a big difference.
Yeah.
Because you have to keep the pressure, you not to keep, you have to endure the pressure. You 500 people are looking at you. Once I shot in Vienna, there were 5,000 people when I had this Robin Hood costume. And if you can do there some halfway nice shot, then you can talk about doing trick archery and stunts with archery, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think of how I want to say this. It's always great watching Byron shoot, because what he does on stage is the same thing that he does on video.
Yeah.
And but yeah, you're right though, Peter. It's like anybody can make a video, and and I'm not gonna say I'm a perfect shot like with shooting the coins out of the air. You know, I probably missed a half a dozen times.
Of course.
But of course, 90% of these people though, they don't show their misses or how many times they don't say, oh well, I missed 50 times before I hit it.
Before I hit once the arrow in the air, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, I had the honor to be on the road with Byron Ferguson. So nobody asks him, how was your day? And no, you have to go out at that time on stage and doing your stuff. And that's a different kind of thing. Yep.
Or at least show your mistakes too. But of course, then these YouTubers, they show only when they succeed.
Yeah.
Because nowadays, of course, you can edit. There's nobody watching. Of course, then it's easy to only show, hey, how good I am. I mean, when I do my bow reviews, I simply show my shots. I don't do a second take because first of all, I'm lazy. And second of all, when I miss a target, I miss a target. You know, I don't pretend that I always hit the center.
And
so, you know, I have no problem with showing that I missed. So that's why I missed. Okay, what the heck?
Since I saw this young guy with the Easton, with the Hoyt bow and you know, the trick shot, the John Chen or how it's called.
John something, yeah.
Yeah, I knew I don't need to make any one more shooting stunt clip again, because you can't top this. And if you're getting into that game, you have to top this performance.
Yeah.
Then you can't win. You have to bring up something new. But he brought up so many new shots, so you can't do anything. And you know, Armin knows about. For some years, I have here a kind of 1 meter on my bookshelf, just books about stage magics, like Houdini and so on. And, you know, you can learn from them. If you like to go into show business, into stage work, you have to know their tricks. Not the trick on stage, you're faking something, but how to surprise your audience, because every one of these magician guys saws a virgin in half, but one does it that way, one has that background, and one, and so on. So it's the person of the performer who's making the style of the show and the appearance of the whole show. So if you are seeing a trick on Byron Ferguson's shooting, you are allowed to copy it, because if you are doing it, it's different. Yep.
Now, when you were doing your live performances, Peter, were you changing up like from one venue to another? Would you change up your routine, or would you basically do the same thing, kind of like Byron does, where he shoots?
No, you know, here around there are not a lot of hunting fairs and shows and shooting shows and fairs, and so like in the United States, you have every fourth month you have kind of something like that. So here it was like that. They asked me for doing something, and I especially trained for that thing. When they called me to go to China to shoot at that rings, you know, it's very difficult to exercise this, because you need a wall and the second person throwing the rings. So I'm honest, I trained this in my kitchen because it was winter. So I put on a shelf a target up there, and I focused on up there on the target, and I shot 1/2 meter or 50 centimeters below. So I trained to focus on the target up there and shooting about 1/2 meter below. So then I could out maneuver the falling rings. That was my kind of training for this, because if you don't have a big studio or something and the thrower and so on, you couldn't train it. So what I want to say, I always trained for that stuff they wanted from me.
Yeah.
So you have to be a kind of overall good shot, and then you can train a special feature, a special stunt. That's my opinion. Different than Ferguson. He has his routine. He's making every time kind of the same show, and that's great. There's no critic about it.
No,
but it's different here.
Yeah. Now, would you rather had those rings? Would you rather had them tossed up in the air instead of having them falling?
It would have been much easier, of course, because if you throw the ring in the air, it stops and then it falls down. So you have to shoot it when it starts to falling down. Yeah. But if they just let them drop, then it becomes faster and faster. And you know, when I arrived there, they had rings. They glued together two kind of plastic. They were heavy like hell. So they fall down like a stone. I said, it's impossible to hit them. It's not impossible, but I talked them into lightweight rings, so they would fall a little slower than, and that was the thing. But it was also because it's a television show, and nobody likes to see hit me 3 rings and the Chinese girl 3 rings, and that is a show. No, you have to hit more of them, and so we worked on that.
So now, how long were you over there for before the show? Like
1 week.
1 week.
1 week, and every day they had a different schedule, and said, oh, on the first, and when we arrived in the first afternoon, we arrived there. We went out to the studio, and they had a kind of training wall, and we tried that with the rings, and they cut new rings and glued together and not, and so on. And the next day, a different team with a different director came to the hotel, and they took me out to a kind of park in the city, and I had to shoot at that apple, and they filmed that. And then we went back to the studios, and then they had another rehearsal, and so on. So it was like it was a television production. It was not a 1 day event or so.
Yeah. So now, Armin, would you not get away from the show business, but while I'm thinking about it, Armin, what would you say out of all the bows that you've tested, which one do you say that you've liked the most so far out of all the ones that you've reviewed?
Yeah, for me right now, one of my favorite bows is this Korean war bow I tested recently. It's from a Polish bow maker named Lukasz Navalny. This is simply for me. It's a Korean war bow design. It's not a classical Korean bow like you have one, Peter. It's a little different. Has a little wider limbs and the sears are a bit longer. So it's just a little different geometry in it. And I simply love to shoot this bow. This is just for me nice. But I have a few other nice ones. But they're all a bit longer draw. They all draw 32, 33 inches, and you shoot with your thumb release. Because I don't have a proper Howard Hill bow yet, so might change when I get my Howard Hill bow, and then I most probably sell all my Asian bows.
So I have, Cody, you know what is horrible? Shipping and Howard Hill bow from Craig to Europe is $180. It's crazy, no?
Yeah, and there's even problems here within the States with the postage and the here, of course, working in the archery industry, you hear all types of stuff about packages getting lost or
but in general, shipping from America, whatever it is, last time I ordered only. It's a small filtering. When I do my videos, I have an ND filter in front of my camera, and it is really a disc this size. You could put it in an envelope, and it was a small box, and it was $40 shipping. Yeah. If I would ship this from Malta to the end of the world, would cost me 15 euros or $20 maybe, but not 40.
Back then, shipping a Howard Hill bow from Montana to Europe was about $40, $40 to $50, or even $60, but $180, that's horrible. That's crazy.
And then when you see in Germany, they have now DHL and they limit everything to 1 meter, I think 60, everything longer, then again bulky, then you need to pay extra again. So it's horrible. That's why it would make sense to have it as a takedown bow, but I don't know how a takedown bow will be different from a non-takedown bow.
A takedown bow wouldn't be a real Howard Hill style bow. Correct me if I'm wrong, because it's a heavy handle and so on.
Well, if you read, I think it's Craig Inkin's book. Craig was talking about when Howard was younger, he actually had a takedown longbow that he had. That he would actually, that he put. People, I guess, used to, when he was in college or high school, people, I think it was college, people would pick on him and call him Robin Hood. So he had a takedown longbow
to hide it.
He would hide it in his pants to walk out. And I also thought that Bob Swinehart had a takedown.
I don't know.
So
I think, Cody, I think nobody knows what happened to Bob Swinehart's archery tackling, no?
One of Bob Swinehart's youngest sons has all of the stuff.
Really?
I've seen some photos of the stuff.
Wow.
So, but nobody, at one time, Bob's youngest son, his name is Max, and he's on some of the archery forums, and he was offering, at one time, he was going to sell everything, but I don't know whatever happened, if he ever ended up selling everything or not.
Because I think Nate Steen of Idaho told me Bob Swinehart's wife, after his death, sold everything, but that's not true. If you say this, one of his sons has everything.
Yeah, and I actually found in an old newspaper ad from, I believe it was 1977, from Pennsylvania, Bob Swinehart had an estate sale before he was going to Africa to make another book about gorillas. He had an estate sale, And in there, he was selling like a 1940 something Rolls Royce.
Wow.
Had archery equipment listed,
Wow.
and a bunch of other stuff. So maybe some of that stuff, you know, got sold in the estate sale.
Yeah. He was kind of a rich guy, no? He was a kind of rich guy, a building like an architect or something, no?
Yeah, he I think he was a foreman or owned a business of like a cement factory or something, or a mason. But that I would love to find some video from Bob Swinehart.
I never saw any. I have never seen any. Never saw any. And he was, I think, from German origin, because he lived in Pennsylvania, where you know that, Armin, they had two official languages in Pennsylvania, German and English back then. And it's Schweinhardt name, Schweinhardt, and so. Yeah, it's a typical German name.
Sounds like it.
I'd say.
And he also was he also put on a lot of shooting demonstrations as well.
Yeah.
So,
very crazy stuff. In his book is one picture, he's holding the bow with one feet and drawing the bow with the other feet and shooting.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So
and a strong guy, I think. He used very heavy bows.
Yeah. Now, the other fella I was going to ask you about, Peter, from California, Don Brown. Do you know who he is by chance?
I heard the name, but I don't, you know, I'm an old guy. I don't remember everything.
So but, Don Brown was also, as far as I know, he was a trick shooter, and he shot heavy bows. And he held, I think at one time, he broke the record for the strongest handheld bow. He actually broke Howard Hill.
Yeah. I remember. He was very famous back then about this strong bow shooting. Yeah.
So it's.
And if I remember right, he also shot kind of hill style bows, no?
Yeah. Yep. He shot hill style.
You know what I always wanted to ask you? You know that movie, The Professionals, with Burt Lancaster and Woody Strode, the black guy, big black guy, Woody Strode was his name, the name of the actor. And he's using 100% Howard Hill style archery equipment in that movie. You ever noticed this?
Yeah, and he was the fellow that was pulling the bow back that he was lighting a cigar, or had a cigar, and he was lighting dynamite, right?
Yeah. There's a famous picture with the long bow and the arrow with the dynamite, and he's lighting his cigar on the how is it called?
On the lunte,
the fuse.
Yeah, the fuse. Yeah.
But what about that movie with Robert De Niro and the other fella?
I know, John Travolta.
Yeah, the hunter.
Yes.
He was using a Howard Hill longbow.
Yeah. It's a bad, horrible movie, but he's using Howard Hill equipment.
Yeah, it was kind of a strange movie. So
yeah. I dislike Robert De Niro since Donald Trump was president and he just talking shit about Trump. I don't watch any movie anymore with Robert De Niro. Never.
Yeah, my thing.
Gone.
Yeah, anymore the whole politics thing and the COVID stuff. I can't even get into talking about, because living here, it's just, you know, he said, she said this, they said that. It's just.
But Cody, you have a nice governor, no? Gretchen Whitmer. She's wonderful. She's like Stalin and Hitler together, no?
I'm not going to make any comments on that at all.
Want to stay alive and in business.
If you know, in Michigan, it's that bad. If he says something, he will get into concentration camp. In one of Whitmer's camps.
They call it female camps.
For naughty boys. Cody, what you are wearing is a really traditional American hunter's cap, I have to say, because I know it.
Yep. They're actually made up north, up in the UP of Michigan.
Yeah,
yep. Stormy Cromer. Yep.
They're kind of like our Lancer caps, you know, Armin, kind of like that with this button in front, or this one is tight.
Yeah.
And also by that old Lancer caps, you can put down the brim to your ears. Yeah. Yeah. Very traditional.
Nice.
Now, are there any tricks that you guys want to see me do? Like, do you have any suggestions? I'm trying to take suggestions of other tricks to try or trick shooting. You have any suggestions?
I don't, for a long time, I don't thought about this. Once they asked me if I can hit the falling water drop. So that is sure kind of nice thing. I also have to tell you, because that I'm proud about that balloon shot I created with the 3 balloons, because I never saw it before. It was my own idea to put one balloon into the other and having.
How many copy it? I sent you last time the link to this X Factor show from Thailand or whatever, or I don't know where it was. And there were 2 ladies, and they held a balloon, and then she shot the first and the second and the third. Ooh.
And that's what also the Chinese saw on YouTube, because I have to say I was early on YouTube. I didn't do a lot, but what I did, I put also on YouTube. And they don't ask me before, but when I was there in China, they said, "Can you do that balloon thing?" Of course. Then they had a kind of own department for the balloons. It was 2 big tables, and I think 3 or 4 Chinese people, and they didn't know how to do it. I said, you have to use a wooden cooking spoon and some baby powder to stick them together, and then they didn't know how big they blow them up, so there would be a gap between the balloons. Then I told them the secret to hold them against a strong light lamp, and so you can see through how big they are. And when the show was, they had a table with about, I think, 20 sets of this kind of balloons prepared. And the biggest one was like that, and the smallest one were all 3 balloons like that. So I saw them bring in a kind of size of that. I said, no, let me look about the balloons. Of course, I have just the biggest one. And then I hit with the first shot 2 balloons, because I don't know how big the gap was, or it was my mistake. I didn't know. They said, you like to do it again for the 3 balloons? I said, no, it's okay. For me, it's okay. If they are just 2, and it's okay for you, it's okay for me. You just can lose if you say, no, I have to do it again. Maybe you break them all 3 in one shot. So
exactly.
So is archery still pretty big in both, where both you and Armin live at all, or?
Yes. In Malta, it's now big, since I'm here since 8 years and promoted, like, and I didn't do anything else since I'm here.
The biggest, up quite well. The biggest thing is, and it's kind of a epidemic too. Here in every village, close to every village in Austria, there are 3D courses. I know it's more difficult in Germany because they're more picky about more regulations, but in Austria there are lots and lots of 3D courses, and that's the big thing to shoot that 3D. But they don't know anything today. They don't know how to make an arrow. They don't know how to shoot. They just shoot.
Speaking of arrow, what's your take on three feathers or 4 feathers? You use 3 feathers, right? Because you talked about the other cock feather, Cody.
Actually, I shoot both. I'll use 4 fletch, or I'll use 3 fletch. It's to me, it's a personal preference. It's just like using right wing or left wing feathers. It's just a personal preference. If I'm making more traditional style arrows, like a copy of a Howard Hill arrow, I do 3 fletch. I've actually seen some hunting arrows that were from Fred Bear way back in the day, probably in the 30s, they were in an archery display. They were 3 or 3.5 inch long feathers, and they had 6 feathers on them, almost like a flu.
Okay.
And it's just personal preference, you know.
But Cody, you know, I thought a lot about this subject too, and I came up with the idea that if you're hunting in a very windy terrain, in a very windy area, so maybe 4 or 6 tiny fletches are better than 3 big ones, or not to say 2 big ones, because you can count the surface of the feather. How many surface do you have in the wind? And if you have big ears like that on your arrows, so side wind easily will push it off trail. But if you have very small 1, 4 or 5 or 6, maybe it's better. That was my idea about it.
Yeah. So it's to me, it's always been, of course, you know, working at Bitzenberger, we get calls all the time, you know, about, oh, what would you suggest, a 3 fletch, a 4 fletch? And most of these guys are shooting compounds anyways.
Yeah.
But it's all a personal preference, just like helical. And once again, some guys just overthink, you know, they sit and think, oh, maybe I ought to do this or do that, or they overthink it. They make archery too complicated almost.
Yeah.
And,
Cody, I want to ask you one more thing. Back then, when in the 90s, we used to buy compressed tapered arrows, shafts from, I think the name was Arrow Smith or Arrow, I don't know. And they had compressed seconds. These were second quality, but very dense compressed and compressed tapered arrows. And I think I have one left. You could shoot that arrows also into concrete. And I don't know if they did it like they did these old Bill Sweetwood compressed cedar arrows. You know them, Armin?
No.
These were maybe Cody knows more about it. How Bob's sweet, how was it called? Sweetwood.
Sweetland.
Yeah.
Sweetland.
Yeah. I think he makes out of dowels thick like that. 5/16 wooden arrows. They were very heavy and very dense.
Yeah. So from the
Sweetland was his name.
Yeah. They were called forage wood forage wood and battle shafts.
Yep.
And I believe I had the video at one time, and the way that I took it was he would take 11/32 shafts and he would run it through a block that was hot that would compress them to push the fibers together to make them stiffer.
Okay.
And actually, I have one right here. So this one is 5/16.
I have also one.
And this one right here is made by Don Brown, the fellow from California. This was custom made for Jerry Hill.
Wow.
And this one, it's a 5/16. But I mean, this thing is stiff. That's probably over 100 pounds. I mean, it's stiff
and heavy.
Yeah. And I had a half a dozen of compressed cedar shafts, and I actually fletched them up and shot them out of a compound with no problem.
Yep. I remember how the company's name was. It was Cedar Smith was the company's name, and they had that compressed, tapered, and so on. Very nice material.
Yeah, but
straight as hell.
Do they still exist, or you can?
I don't know.
I haven't heard the name. I haven't heard anything about them in years.
But when they are so good, why didn't they? Why there's no success?
I don't know. I think because a lot of archers who are not competitive archers, but bow hunters switched over to aluminum and carbon. And so there was, I think there was less demand for shafts like that, no?
Yeah, I would say so, yeah. So it's just like years ago, I heard this big thing that Easton was going to stop making aluminum arrows just to make carbon arrows because the demand for aluminum arrows was no more. But I mean, they must still sell them because they still make Easton aluminum arrows.
I made myself a set of these Easton Legacy XX something shafts. Wonderful arrows. Use them heavy 175 grain points, 5.5-inch feathers, Mercury knocks because they have the, you know, the taper in the back on the aluminum. You can use the knocks for the wooden shafts.
Yeah,
I love them. Great arrows.
And if talking about arrows, it's kind of funny if you watch some of these so-called reality shows that we have here in America. Like some of these reality shows, they'll show a guy, you know, oh, well, this guy spent hours building a bow. And then you look at the arrows he's shooting and they say, oh, well, he spent hours building these arrows. And then you look and the arrows are from Amazon. And you can tell exactly they're Amazon arrows by it's just the whole reality. The reality stuff too is just crazy.
You know,
I always say you can have a crappy bow. When you have a good arrow, you still hit the target. You can have the best bow, you have a bad arrow, you don't hit anything because it's still the arrow which hits the target, not the bow.
And you know, Cody, I worked for sometimes with television people, and you also can ask Byron Ferguson. It's always fake. All they show you is fake, totally fake. Everything.
It's like that one show that we have here. One of the portrayed like they were mountain men or whatever, and they were talking about how this guy was building a bow out of a pair of really rare pieces of Osage orange. Well, rare Osage here in Michigan's all over the place. I didn't know Osage was rare. And if I'm not mistaken, it grows over there by you too, doesn't it, Peter? Osage orange?
Yes, not especially in Austria, but in Hungary they have lots and lots of Osage orange. Everything they show you is a lie.
Television and reality, yes.
You know, sometimes in some documentaries they talk about that big island of plastic is in the Pacific Ocean. It's as big as France. They tell you. So I thought that's horrible. So I checked it out. I Googled. You can't find any picture from a satellite or an airplane to show this plastic island. There are pictures they photographed like that into a kind of, you know, I'm sure there are lots of plastic swimming around, no problem. But there's not an island big as France. Because if there is, I like to see a picture with a ship aside this or something.
You have a scale.
That's really big. So it's all
and
lies.
Nowadays we see every corner of this planet 24/7. It should be possible to have a photo of it, exactly. With all the satellites, you know, they take a photo of us when we go take a, I don't want to say it now, but you know, whatever we do, they can take a photo of us, but they don't find this big, huge plastic island. Media, you know, how we like them.
I'm quite sure if there's a kind, how they call it, I don't know in English, if there's a kind of accident with a big oil tanker ship, you know?
Oil spill. Oil spill?
Yes, I'm sure if they can't find a bird sticky from this oil, this oil pest, they take an arrow and paint it with old oil and hold it to the camera and say, look about the arrow, blah, blah, blah. That's true.
I mean, you see the best thing what media did, speaking of COVID again, the first one in China who collapsed on the street because of COVID and died. And all of a sudden, in 1 minute, 2 guys in a full virus suit showed up directly and picked him up. I mean, how did they know that he will collapse there? So, it's so hilarious.
And Cody for sure will know it, but because I think last week or 2 weeks ago, Dr. Fauci was in the Congress, in the US Congress. And how is the name of the Republican? Ron Paul asked him. And now it's no conspiracy. Dr. Fauci put his money into that laboratory in Wuhan where they built this virus, so the virus would be more infectious. So it would be more dangerous, easier to transmit. And that's true. That's not the conspiracy. You know about it, Cody?
Once again, no, I don't really. Honestly, I try to stay away from all of that. I try not. It's.
You're more afraid than our Chinese friend was.
Yeah, but you can go gaga with all this information, when it's so
I will say though, it seemed like with people that, with the lockdowns and the stay at home, it seems like it has gave a great influence on people to try archery though. And I think they say that there are more archers now and more people enjoying the outdoors than there has been in a long time. So I guess that could be a good takeaway from it, So
in every negative thing is something good, of course.
Yes, Greg Ekin of Howard Hill Archery used to need 6 weeks for an order to make your bow. Now he raised it to 14 weeks, 12 to 14 weeks.
Still okay.
Yes, okay. Compared to German and Austrian bow makers, it's okay.
They ask you about the century, not of the year.
Which century you need to bow?
Something 2030, 2050.
Now, are there many bow makers over there, Peter? And
many. Yes.
Many
good ones I would know now, so that's why I can't tell.
And for sure there are some around, but I also I don't know any good arrow maker in Germany or Austria. So if you would ask me where to order a nice set of cedar arrows, I wouldn't know. I would say order them in the United States because these are real nice cedar arrows.
They know how to make it. I mean, I only know sometimes you go somewhere, you have an event or something, and like I had before COVID, I was they opened an archery shop, an archery range indoors, and that is from one famous bow builder. I don't want to say the name now. And I said, you need to, can I shoot them? Because they are so pushed and so promoted with fancy photos, half-naked woman in whatever warrior paint in the face and whatever. And I said, okay, let me try it. And I shot one and was like, holy cow. No,
in Austria, no?
And I said, and what is the price tag on this bow? Never, ever I would buy this bow.
Austrian bow maker, no?
I think so, yes.
Yeah. You know who was, except Fred Bear and maybe Martin Archery, in Europe, I was the first who used a mannequin, a photo model for promoting bows. Because I paid the model
to post. You knew that, of course.
Cody knows.
In your show, you simply need a pretty girl in a bikini, and then it doesn't matter what you do.
That's what I learned from Howard Hill, because he always had these starlets in his movies, and so
I mean, every magician has the assistant. The assistant is always taking the attention, and then he can do whatever he needs to do. So it's normal.
Yeah, it's like it seems like Howard Hill could be out hunting, and then all of a sudden, nope, there's a pretty girl out in the woods. Like, where did she come from?
Yeah. And you know, because he worked at the Robin Hood production with Warner Brothers, I think he had a good approach to the studios and to the starlets, and come on, let's make this movie short and so on. I also think Howard was a nice guy, a clever, a smart guy to talk people into helping him. I'm sure, as far as I fidget him out.
Yeah,
I think so too.
Yeah. Because when he started, he was friend with this, I don't know his first name, with this Curtis, who had an airplane building company, and he sponsored him. Howard used to organize archery golf courses for this Mr. Curtis and so on. So he got a job from Mr. Curtis. And I'm sure he talked him into, of course, how he would he.
Yeah.
Legit.
And I also think Howard was lucky to have a kind of good wife, Elizabeth Hodges Hill. I think she had money, so she could support Howard.
He could do what he loved to do.
Yeah, I think so.
Always having an eye on money. Yeah, makes sense.
Don't you think, Cody?
That
it's not bad talking about Howard Hill, but these are all factors about his career, how he could do it.
Yeah, I see, and that's the other thing is, especially here in the States, you get to talk to different people that either knew him or knew the family, and without actually knowing the facts, I don't want to state anything, because then it just. To me, it could be a bunch of hearsay, and then you end up, you piss off one person, and then another person's upset. But I do know that she basically, from what I understand, whatever he wanted to do, she was completely okay with letting him. Like when he went to make The Last Wilderness, he spent 9 months or whatever it was, or a year making the movie, and then of course. He went to Africa and spent 9 or 10 months in Africa, and so.
And she was a little older than him, I think. So there was a kind of different relation, and you know what I'm sure about, because I saw that old Western movie where Howard Hill is playing an Indian and Native American, the singing buckaroo. He acted as an Indian, and in my opinion, he really loved archery and all his stuff and bow hunting and everything. But I think he wanted to become an actor, and first when he went to Hollywood and so on. I think so, because he was a tall, handsome guy, and he played this little or not so little role in that singing buckaroo movie, and before in The Last Wilderness, he also acted like an Indian. And so on. So I think besides all his archery stuff, he was also into getting an actor, which don't turned out not like he thought it would, because he had a little role in Robin Hood. He played the captain of archers and so on.
Yeah.
I'm quite sure.
I would agree with you that, that he would have, that's probably what he was trying to do, is become an actor.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure he probably had there, they claim that he made like 24 short films altogether. And I'm sure there are more movies out there than what they claim there are. Would you say so, Peter? I mean,
I think so, because they don't release every movie. So they do it nowadays. They don't release every movie one is making. And even back then, they say, "Oh, that is not so good. We thought it would be better. Let it in the drawer for some." And then the movie vanishes.
Yeah. Now,
I think so.
How many how many Howard Hill short videos do you have, Peter?
I think you once sent me a set of DVDs. I think there are lots. I don't know, but I know. I think I know about 10 or maybe 15. I don't know.
Yeah, because I came across another on eBay one night. I came across a film. I think it was a 8mm film reel, and it's and from my research, it's not been released on DVD, or it's something that's not even been anybody knows about.
Okay. Yep.
And I don't know if it'd be worth trying to get it to just send it someplace to see if they would put it on DVD format for me or not.
That would be nice.
I think it's always interesting when it's something has to do with Howard Hill. He has still such a big fan base, and they're many of them are collectors. And when they get some new footage and something they never saw, I think many would.
You never saw a lot of crazy stuff about or with Howard Hill. So I'm sure there's some takes, some shots they never released. Or I think, Cody, I heard about they made kind of lots and lots of kind of naked pictures with bow and arrow and so on, but you never see them.
Yeah. Well, it's just like where Howard Hill was doing the TV ad for Ford, and they told him for every bullseye that he would get, they would pay him, I think it was $1,000 or whatever it was.
I think so.
And you would think that somebody would, if that was such a great old commercial, that somebody would have that, and that's nowhere to be found. That would be quite interesting.
Yeah,
for sure.
And you know the story, Armin. They said if he hit the bullseye, he will get $1,000 for the bullseye. And because they thought he will miss, he shot from a driving car, from a driving Ford car. And so they erected more tripods with targets. And then he said, if I hit one bullseye, I will get $1,000. And then I think he hit 5 in a row. He said, "There, you have to give me $5,000."
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. So, and I've spent some time going, on like some of the archives, and I've even sent Ford Motor Company, like their historical society.
No chance.
Nothing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
For sure, there's a lot of more footage of him, for sure.
I'm sure. Yeah. And what I wanted to say, they would have made a lot of shenanigans back then and jokes and so on. You never see something like this.
Yeah. And it's just like with the Bob Swinehart films. I was told that that big college in Texas A&M or whatever, Texas A&M University, they have a bunch of real films from a guy that spent some time with Swinehart. But I believe they said there's thousands and thousands of this guy's films, but I guess nobody's really taken the time to go through all of them.
Then you know what? We stop now directly our podcast, and you sit in the car and go there.
Yeah.
Somebody has to do it. The thing is, when you always wait for things to be done, you wait forever.
But Cody, as he tells us, he's doing a lot of research of this old stuff, and I know about it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But it would be worth checking it out, if there is some footage with Swinehart.
Yeah.
And
wow,
it's just amazing though that all the people though that did archery, all the little people that did trick archery and did exhibitions, and just not Howard Hill or Swinehart or Bear or Ben Pearson, Andy Vale.
Yeah.
By the way, did you, Armin or Peter, did you ever see the video that's on YouTube of Andy Vale shooting the battleship or whatever during World War
II. Yeah. At first there was a beautiful woman on a swing, and he shot about the balloon she's holding or so.
I think I saw it, yeah.
Yes, it was a kind of war propaganda stuff.
Yeah. Have you, Peter, ever seen any other video of Andy Vale, or is that the only one?
That's the only one, as far as I know.
I have on video. I have one of them hunting in Mexico.
Oh, wow.
And, I'm trying to figure out, I just have to figure out how I can transfer it from the V8 or from the tape to the computer.
Yeah.
But then again, I don't know if I'd be getting in with any copyright laws or anything.
Is this one still on YouTube? I don't know the name of this guy. It was also a commercial for a car, for the springs of a car, and he sitting on the car and shooting at girls with balloons in the car and so on. Who was this guy?
Well, they were thinking it was Howard Hill, but it wasn't Howard.
No.
Because if I remember right, he took the steering wheel and he took a bowstring or something and tied it so the car would go around in a circle.
The circle, yes.
Yeah. And then he was shooting inside the car with the bow completely
canted.
Yeah.
They did some crazy stuff back then.
Yeah. So, I'll have to try to dig up that one Andy Vale video, and I do have two other Andy Vale videos of him shooting, taking a German Luger, and he was showing the penetrating power of a bow versus a German Luger, and he had a sandbag with a balloon behind it.
Yeah.
And he shot the Luger into the sandbag. Of course, the sand stopped the bullet, and he shot completely through it with the arrow and hit the balloon on the.
So, Fred Bear had kind of a similar stunt. He put a gas behind a bucket full of sand, and he also shot with a rifle or a gun at the sand bucket, and it won't penetrate, and the arrow will go straight through, breaking the glass.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, but.
And some of the craziest guys were the Williams brothers. No, that movies they had, wow, they're shooting a kind of roll out of the other guy's mouth and crazy. You know what I never found out? What also Howard had, it's I think sometimes, what did they put on the arrows so they smoked? They had a kind of smoke trace. They shot the arrows in the air and smoke come off of the arrows, so you can see the path of the arrow, the flight of the arrow.
I wonder if it was it was some type of chemical.
Yeah.
But it makes me wonder if it was like a dry ice chemical where when the dry ice hit the air, it made the smoke.
Yeah.
But
so maybe they had the arrows inside dry ice like that, and then I don't know.
Yeah. So I always was back in the day. I always tried to figure that out, but it was always a dead lead because I thought that would be kind of cool to have a smoker arrow.
Yeah.
But I did that. I did it one time with a firecracker that smoked, like a smoke grenade. I just taped the smoke grenade on an arrow and lit it, and when it got close, I just shot it. But
they had something maybe
without fire, I think.
Yeah, and I think it was very poisonous or something. Back then, they used everything.
No problem, even if it would be asbestos, no problem.
No problem.
Nowadays.
Well, talking about fire, these old Min-Knocks, the original ones, if you broke one of these Min-Knocks, you could actually take a lighter or fire and light it, and the knock would burn completely off, and then you could put a new one on.
Really?
It was made out of a cellulose.
Okay.
And so if you broke a knock, you could just take a match or a lighter. Of course, you had to be careful you didn't burn the feathers up on the end of your arrow.
Yeah.
But yeah, they burn completely clean.
Wow.
So I got a big bag of the original mid-knocks. I ought to do a video of that. That might be interesting.
Yes,
yes, for sure.
So, but yeah, and I wondered if maybe that's the other reason Howard liked him, because if he broke knocks, he could just hurry up and
burn them off and put a new one on. Yeah.
So,
makes your life easier, especially on wood knocks. It's horrible.
Yeah. So.
Sure. So, guys, I mean, as nice as we talk, but we are already over 2 hours. I think.
Okay.
We should come to an end. But if you don't mind, we would love to invite you again to our show.
Yeah,
because
of
you have
course.
so much knowledge, you know, so many things, and it's so interesting for me, for Peter, and for all our viewers. So, if you would mind, and we can invite you again to our show.
Well, I totally agree. I would love to have Cody
hilarious. When he pours his brain out, it's like, whoa. Wow.
Yeah, for next time, I'll dig up some more of my other stuff that I have.
Show a bit. It's cool.
And you know, Cody, you will get the data. You can use it for your own YouTube channel, the whole talk, so you can publish it.
Yes.
No problem.
And guys, buy some Pitzenburger fletching chicks.
Yeah. These are the best ones. I also have one.
Yeah, we get a lot of people that you know, they've used everything else, but they love them. So especially the traditional guys seem to like them. So because you can go from 3 fletch, and you can move the like the dial indicator, the little Allen screw on top, to go to 2 different 4 fletch options. So
nice.
And I think they are unchanged since 60 years or so. Yes, unchanged. And you know, I mean, the guys who made a lot of arrows, companies are making a lot of arrows in the United States. They don't have devices for 6 arrows to fletch or so. They have lots of Pitzenbergers screwed to a round table. And then they turn the table and glue on the next feather and so on.
And actually, Henry Bitzenberger was from Germany, if I'm not mistaken, Peter.
Sounds very German.
Sounds like that, yes.
And his wife was a heck of a shot too. She also did some trick shooting.
Yeah. What was her name? Ruth also?
Babe. Her
Babe.
name was Babe.
Babe Pitzenberger,
Babe Pitzenberger. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, the maximum I had was in Sylt when I was working on Sylt. It's a very small island in Germany. And when we built arrows, we had 30 fletching chicks in a row, because we used Yoo-hoo. You know, it takes always 20 minutes to set. So you start then putting the first, and then you go through the 30, and then the first one is already done. Then you can swap it, and then you go the next one.
The second.
Go ahead, Peter.
The second nice fletching chick I like, I think they're made in Italy. They are called Spiga or something. They're also made from metal. These are also nice, but the best are the Pitzenberger, of course.
So now, do you reflect your own arrows there, Armin, at all?
Yes, we fletch our own arrows.
What kind of jigs do you use?
Because I was when I started in Malta, I didn't have many connections to others, but I knew from the one in Sylt where I was before, he was working with bear paw with Bodnik, and then I got these bear paw with these plastic clamps and with a magnet on it. They are not bad, but it's a lot of plastic involved, and you drop one of the clamps, and the edges break off, so they are not very, very durable.
Well, give me some time, Armin, and I'll send you one.
Okay.
I'll send you Pitzenberger.
I'll do a video on it. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
So, and you have one, don't you, Peter? You have Pitzenberger.
I have one. Thank you. I like it.
Pitzenberger, but then they were so expensive. That, you know, when you start the business and you need arrows and you need targets and you need this and this, need that. And I was like, okay, I go with the airport stuff because I got a good price for them.
You know, I also have that old, it's still available, also 60 years old design, that old young feather burner.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Where
makes so much more sense than all these thingies where you
but it is like very smelly.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, first time I ever used my young feather burner, I did it in the kitchen. And yeah, it was bad. I had to open all the windows and had fans going to blow this. Yeah.
Nice. You need to do it outdoors.
Okay.
Shall we come to an end for today? And we invite you again in a few weeks' time, if you don't mind. And we continue our talk.
Great, great talking. Great.
All right. Do you want me to send you guys a picture of me shooting for the thumbnail photo? All right, I'll go through and send you a picture. So.
Yeah. So we have one for the cover.
Yes, exactly. We need one.
Very nice. Very nice.
Okay. So it was really a pleasure to talk to you, Cody, and an honor to talk to you. It's always enlightening to talk to some, you can see that he's living archery, he's living his rifles, and I like old school stuff, classical cars, it's everything. We are so in line. I love it.
and like don't just talking shit, but talking all he really knows about and not about something.
When he doesn't want to say something, he says so too. He's very polite. I like this too. So
because
these motherfuckers, whatever.
He's afraid from Gretchen,
Of course. Governor Gretchen. Great.
All right. Salute to you, Cody, and nice to see you.
And if you send me the link to your YouTube channel, then I put it in the description, and everybody can find you, and Facebook if you want, and all your contact details, then I can get directly in contact with you.
All right, I'll do that here in a few minutes, and
no problem. Or you send it to people, but you can send it to me. We are friends on Facebook. You can send it directly. Okay.
Right. Great.
Perfecto.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Adios.
Cody, have a nice day. See you very soon.
Yep, see you. Bye, guys.
See you. Bye, guys.